The state of gacha games has never been more apparent, as many are being introduced to the genre thanks to their exposure to games such as Genshin Impact, with it being most of their first times. Although many consider Genshin Impact to be the golden standard of what modern gacha games should be like, I am one of the minority that says no. No, because there is one game that I hold in a much higher regard, and one that I believe is more suitable for the title of what modern gacha games should be like, and it's actually a game that is related to Genshin Impact, their sister, in a way. This game is none other than Honkai Star Rail. But Arlove, how are they related? Their gameplay isn't even remotely similar. Yes, I am aware that Genshin is an action-adventure open-world game, while Honkai Star Rail is a turn-based game with a limited area for exploration and comparison. Heck, one could even argue that the turn-based genre is the less popular of the two. But, in Honkai Star Rail, being developed by the same company that gave us Genshin, it borrows a lot of the systems from their sister game and manages to be better at them. Don't believe me? Allow me to bring up a couple of points that I have also brought up in my recent videos on Genshin Impact. First, the energy system, or in Star Rail's case, the trailblazing power. Try saying that 10 times. While Genshin Impact has a maximum of 160 resin, Honkai Star Rail has an astounding 240 cap. This puts a huge 80 energy gap between the two, and if that wasn't enough, Honkai Star Rail's power regenerates 1 point in every 6 minutes, while Genshin's resins regenerate 1 in every 8 minutes. Although this may not seem like that big of a difference, this means that you get to utilize the whole 24 hours that is available each day, and you get the full 240 Trailblaze power, while you only get 180 in Genshin, which makes you wonder why it doesn't even equate with the lacking resin cap. Not only that, but if you do end up capping your Trailblazing power, they've implemented the reserved Trailblazing power, in which excess energy will be stored for you to use later at a rate of 1 point in every 18 minutes for a total of 2,400 points. 2,400. Let that sink in. Genshin Impact doesn't even have a reserve, which makes me appreciate that I'm not being punished for having a life outside of the game. Instead, it sort of makes it feel like the game welcomes you back with open arms, kind of like that feeling you get when you get home to your mother's home-cooked meal after a long day at school. Nice. Second, farming. I mentioned in my previous video that I was frustrated with the fact that domains are time-gated, meaning that if you miss logging on a certain day, you're going to have to wait a few more days before the domains offer the materials that you need. I'm looking at you, Talent Materials. I hate you. In Honkai Star Rail, that doesn't exist. You're free to farm whatever you want, whenever you want. It makes it feel so much easier to farm for your characters, and you are able to get them to a usable level way sooner than you would if they were in Genshin. What helps is that it feels so much more rewarding when you take into consideration that Honkai Star Rail's trade system, which is their equivalent to the talent system, has so much more room for progression. And before I forget, the weekly bosses feel so much better to farm because you aren't limited to a single attempt for each every week. Instead, you get to spend your 3 weekly attempts on whichever boss you may need in the moment. Whichever. And although the auto-battling feature also makes farming easier, I cannot use that against Genshin because I know that it would be unfair, as it is a feature that is impossible for the genre the game is in. Third point, the gameplay. It feels so good to play, especially once you utilize the speed up feature. If you didn't know, Honkai Star Rail also has an elemental system. Instead of elemental reactions, each element has their own individual effects once you inflict a weakness break on your enemies. Characters also have a selection of paths that they individually follow, which is often indicative of the form of gameplay they will bring to you as a player. This makes it feel like each character, although used in similar roles, feel unique from one another in terms of both their designs and their gameplay. If you want a more in-depth explanation as to how the combat works and why certain characters work or not, I recommend the channel of Vars, as he does a great job in explaining the complexities of the topic. Fourth point I would like to mention is the exploration. It's true that Honkai Star Rail's areas of exploration are marginally more limited. It actually helps in making the exploration feel more intimate, for a lack of better term. Instead of exploring a vast open area that doesn't really contain much most of the time, you're subjected to zones that feel much easier to explore and understand, and details are much more noticeable as a result. From the frozen fields of Belobog and the grungy undertones of its underworld to the beautiful surrealness of Penacony, you get to feel more involved in the environment of each one. I highly recommend you take the time to explore each area carefully, as it is definitely worth it, and who knows, you might find solid pieces of lore just lying around somewhere. Lastly, its events and Endgame. Where do I begin? 12 whole floors of the memory of chaos, pure fiction, even the simulated universe, which has two entirely different modes in the form of Golden Gears and Swarm Disaster. These present for so many ways to play the game, even after you finish the story. Not to mention that each game mode requires a different playstyle each time, resulting in opportunities for characters that used to be considered underwhelming to shine in the spotlight. Herta, Himiko, and Argenti thrive in the AoE-reliant environment of pure fiction, while hypercarries like Jingliu, Acheron, and Dunhang Il breeze through memory of chaos. Not to mention that a new game mode has been announced that revolves around single target units, which will hopefully allow characters like Yan Qing and Zayla to show off. The rewards are amazing as well, allowing players to confidently save up enough for the characters they want ahead of time, as events are really generous with the jades they offer. Oh, and if you do miss out on the permanent event, or if you're a newer player, you still get to experience them as they stay within the game, so you don't miss out as much, although with less rewards. Overall, Honkai Star Rail is the definition of a game that really feels like it does respect your time. In a market that is oversaturated and ones that prey on their audience's tendencies to feel the fear of missing out. You never feel forced into playing at the pace that you aren't comfortable with, and it provides you with the freedom of playing the game whenever you wish without punishing you too much. It's an amazing game, and I know of certain games that would benefit from following in the footsteps of Honkai Star Rail. Yes, I understand that it might be annoying to some of you that I have used Genshin Impact as a benchmark of comparison, but I genuinely do believe and feel like it is necessary to emphasize my points. It does what Genshin could have done, but better. It listens to its player base and rewards them for taking the time to play the game and allows them to catch up if they ever fall behind. It even offered one of the greatest DPS units for free, and it gave you months to claim him. I compare not to belittle, but to elaborate what I wish Genshin Impact would do. They can do better, and Honkai Star Rail is proof of that. However, these are simply my thoughts. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments down below, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay lovely, Arlove out.